Well, I must say, those geometric storms that have come in since Pluto has entered our atmosphere are still affecting my fairy radar. I heard from some of the other fairies that theirs are being affected as well. It's very strange times, and someone also said that they overheard one of the elder fairies saying that it's the build-up to a lunar eclipse. So, goodness knows what's going to happen then. Anyway, I'm so glad you're here, and I know you're very excited to find out what on earth Thimble's getting up to. I think she might have upset the Queen in our last visit. Lilybell walked around the cake inspecting each intricate detail before breaking off a rose on one side. Do not take me for a fool, Thimble. Did you think you could bribe me with cake? Inquired the Queen as she ate one of the sugary petals in her hand. Oh, no, Your Majesty. I was not thinking of bribing you, more softening the blow, said Thimble honestly. Thimble had always believed that no matter how much trouble you may find yourself in by doing so, you must always be as truthful as you can be. Lilybell was still pacing around the cake when Till suddenly piped up. Oh, Lilybell, are you going to let this fairy decide my fate? I'd had my heart set on my wedding day, and I will not let her spoil it, he said, stamping his foot under the table as he stood up. Oh, stop whining, Tilano, snapped back the Queen, and Till sat back down with a big huff and sigh. Thimble was so pleased to finally see him put in his place that she let out a little giggle. This, of course, was not the best thing she could have done, and soon regretted it. Do you find this a game, little fairy girl? Because let me tell you, fairies have been banished from this land for doing far less than disobeying their queen, exploded Lilybell, who had picked off another flower and was eating the petals one by one. If nothing else, the cake was acting as a good distraction for the Queen, and whether Thimble knew it or not, it was a very good idea that Myrtle had thought of it. Thimble curtsied. I most certainly do not think this is a game at all, Your Majesty, which is why I am here. I cannot be unhappy without a fight, and I want to do more than just be a royal housewife, said Thimble nervously, very much aware that this was not going as she had hoped. The Queen fell silent for a moment. She knew Thimble was a brave fairy to stand in front of the royal court and address her sovereign in such an open manner. And the Queen respected this and was touched by Thimble's passion to hold on to what she believed. But she also knew that there was no way in all the lands Till could run this valley without a fairy like Thimble by his side. You certainly know how to put a cat amongst the pigeons, little fairy brave, said Lilybell at last, after what seemed like a very long time contemplating. Lord Flute had broken his feather quill and was now ripping small corners off the scrolls on the table. Have you nothing to say about your daughter's wishes, Flutie? Inquired the Queen, making poor Lord Flute jump out of his skin. No, Your Majesty, he said and sat back down. Well, I propose that we have a short break while I contemplate this unfortunate situation. And with that, Lilybell left the great hall for the library, with two knaves scurrying after her. Lord Flute looked across at Thimble and shrugged his shoulders. Well, you could have at least said you were on my side, Father. It's a little bit lonely addressing a queen on your own, exclaimed a rather annoyed Thimble across the hall. Well, I need to consider all parties, Thimble, replied Lord Flute gingerly. All parties? Exclaimed Thimble. And by that, you mean Mother and her infuriating ideas on dresses, I suppose, she said crossly. There has to be more to life than dresses, Father, she added. Till, who had been sat in absolute bewilderment and silence since being yelled at by the Queen, cleared his throat. I think all parties probably includes me, Thimble, dearest. Don't you think you're possibly overreacting at the prospect of being my wife? He said, flicking the end of his nose with a fingernail. Goodness! Thimble was exasperated. No, I do not think it includes a vulgar, rude, irritating creature like you, Tilano Toil, and I most certainly am not overreacting at such a repulsive prospect, she said, and stamped her foot so hard the sparks flew across the hall and the giant clock struck noon once more. This was not the best thing that Thimble could have said to Till in front of so many nobles. Oh dear no. After all, he was as shocked as everyone else that she had just announced to everyone who was anyone in the valley that she couldn't bear the thought of marriage to him. Not to mention that he was also a royal and should be respected. And that was before delving into the fact that she just announced that he was the most vulgar, rude and most irritating knave she had ever met. Yes, well, that's our opinion. Now, using the word vulgar was never going to sit well with a knave as vain as Till. And he turned bright crimson, pushed his chair back and glared at Thimble. You, little fairy, are heading for a rather nasty fall. Why, I wouldn't be surprised if you were expunged from this fair land in shame. It's been done before for far less rudeness, and Blossom was a royal, while you were just a mere peasant, fairy gal, came the very bitter retort from Till's mouth. Goodness! Just as the doors opened and in stepped Queen Lilybell to address the council with her thoughts. Sit down, Till! What rudeness has just come from your mouth? Bellowed the Queen as Till shrunk back behind the table. Well, I was just saying to Thimble here that I was all he managed to say, and the Queen was in no mood for hesitant answers. Sit down, Till, and do not speak unless I ask you to. And if I ever hear you mention my cousin like that again, it will be you in danger of being expunged, snapped Lilybell angrily, leaving a very shaken Till quivering in his chair. Lilybell slowly walked up the steps to her throne, where she swished her dress in front of her and sat down. The great hall fell silent. No one moved a single muscle. No one even blinked a single eyelash. No one dare even breathe, as all eyes and ears in the room were on the Queen. Thimble felt decidedly unsure of the outcome, felt nervous for the first time since she'd walked in. Not even Lord Flute's eyes could unfix themselves from the Queen in anticipation of what conclusion she had come to. So, Thimble, she said, breaking the silence, you do not wish to marry Till, even though you have been invited to do so by your sovereign, and you bravely stand before her to tell her this. I might also remind you, little fairy girl, that although it was not discussed with you beforehand, your duty will always be to remain loyal to your Queen and gracefully accept what is expected of you. Till sat up with a little more confidence, and he was absolutely sure that all this silliness would be put to one side and he would be married by the second full moon. However, continued the Queen, I have to admire something in you, Thimble. You are brave, and to stand here today and defy your Queen takes courage. So, I will do a little deal with you, Faerie, said Lilybell, with an air of play in her voice, and the whole room erupted once more in shocked murmurs and elbowing. Goodness! Thimble was a little dazed, but curious as to hear what the Queen was going to suggest. "Please, Your Majesty, I will do anything and whatever it takes to," said Thimble, but was rudely interrupted by Lilybell. "Silence, Thimble, before I change my mind. And silence to the courtiers who cannot stop whispering," yelled an exasperated-looking Queen. "I do not wish for many things in this life, Thimble, and I have few regrets but one. And if you help me with this regret, I will cancel your proposed marriage to Till." Goodness! Till stood up and let out a huge groan. "Sit down, Till, before I have you removed," bellowed Lilybell, and she continued in a softer voice, not taking her gaze from Thimble. "I want you to find my cousin, Lady Blossomberry, and bring her back home to the valley. If you can do this, you are free to practice your magic, wear your funny clothes, and one day marry whomever you may choose. Or not to, of course. However, as part of your quest, you'll be travelling on foot as she did, so no levitational travel or power spells to aid you other than your trusty one twig. You will also only have until dusk on the first moon in Neptune. That's 10 full moons from today. Now, this has been the most excitement I've had in a very long time, so I must thank you for that, little fairy. Now, I wish you well in your preparations for your departure at sunrise tomorrow, should you accept my quest." And with that, the Queen stood up, slowly walked down the steps and through the great hall back to her chambers. Goodness me, what a commotion of shock and excitement that followed her exit. The whole room sprang back to life with disbelief and intrigue. Thimble stood frozen to the floor. She'd certainly done what she'd come to do, but there was something telling her that her adventures had only just begun. And of course she was right. Very right indeed. For tomorrow at sunrise she would be leaving the valley on a journey to realms she had never seen before. And who knows where those travels may take her? Well, let us read on with haste. Oh! Those are the calling birds. Well, they've come round rather quickly. I'm sure these geometric storms are playing havoc with their radars too. I shall have to go, but I know you'll want to come back next time. Find out what on earth happens to Thimble. Very exciting. Till then, take care. And remember, don't stop believing, especially in you.